The gentle hum of conversation and the soft clinking of glasses filled the air as I sat at my usual spot in the corner of the dimly lit bar. It was my sanctuary, a place where I could escape the burdens of the outside world and drown my troubles in a glass of whiskey. But tonight, my peace was shattered by the sudden entrance of a rowdy group of men. Their boisterous laughter echoed off the walls, drawing the attention of everyone in the bar. As they swaggered in, their presence seemed to fill the room with an air of tension and unease. I frowned, my mood souring at the disruption. These men were trouble, that much was clear. Dressed in expensive suits and exuding an aura of arrogance, they were the antithesis of everything I sought in this quiet refuge. I shot them a disapproving glare, hoping to convey my irritation without resorting to words. But they paid me no mind, too engrossed in their own raucous conversation to notice my silent protest. Feeling a knot of frustration building in my chest, I turned my attention back to my drink, hoping to drown out the noise and salvage what little tranquility remained. "You see that old man over there?" one of the men exclaimed loudly, oblivious to my presence. "What's his deal? Why is he staring at us like that?" His companions chuckled, exchanging knowing glances as they sized me up from across the room. I tensed, bracing myself for what was to come. "He's probably just some grumpy old geezer who can't stand the sight of fun," another man replied with a smirk. "Let's show him what a good time looks like, boys." Their laughter grated on my nerves, fueling the growing sense of irritation that simmered beneath the surface, but I held my tongue, unwilling to stoop to their level. As the night wore on, the men's antics only grew more obnoxious, their voices rising to a deafening crescendo that drowned out all other sound. I clenched my jaw, fighting the urge to confront them head-on. But deep down, I knew that this confrontation was inevitable, and when the time came, I would be ready to face it, no matter the consequences. The tension in the air thickened with each passing moment as the rowdy group of men continued to disrupt the once peaceful atmosphere of the bar. Despite my best efforts to ignore them, their boisterous laughter and loud conversations grated on my nerves like nails on a chalkboard. Unable to bear their antics any longer, I found myself locking eyes with the ringleader, a brash and cocky young man who exuded an air of entitlement. His gaze bore into mine with an intensity that bordered on hostility, and I braced myself for what was to come. "What's your problem, old man?" he barked, his voice dripping with disdain as he sauntered over to my table, his cronies following closely behind. "You got something to say to us?" I sighed, steeling myself for the confrontation that was sure to follow. "Just trying to enjoy my drink in peace," I replied evenly, doing my best to keep my temper in check. The man's lips curled into a sneer as he leaned in closer, his breath reeking of alcohol and arrogance. "Well, you picked the wrong place to do it, Gramps," he taunted, his voice laced with malice. "This is our turf now, and if you don't like it, you can get the hell out." I felt a surge of anger coursing through my veins, but I forced myself to remain calm. Resorting to violence would only escalate the situation further, and I had no desire to stoop to their level. "I'm not looking for trouble," I replied, my voice steady despite the rising tide of tension in the room. "But if you insist on causing a scene, don't be surprised when someone pushes back." The man's eyes narrowed, a dangerous glint flickering behind them as he took a menacing step closer. "You think you're tough, old man?" he growled, his voice low and threatening. "I'll show you tough." Before I could respond, his companions surged forward, surrounding me with their menacing presence. My heart pounded in my chest as I braced myself for whatever came next, knowing that this confrontation was far from over. The tension in the bar reached a fevered pitch as the confrontation between myself and the group of unruly men escalated. Their aggressive posturing and menacing glares made it clear that they had no intention of backing down, and I braced myself for whatever came next. But then something unexpected happened. In a moment of clarity, I made a decision that would change the course of the night, and possibly the course of my life. Taking a deep breath, I squared my shoulders and met the ringleader's gaze head-on. "You think you're tough, huh?" he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "Let's see how tough you are when I'm through with you." I held his gaze steadily, refusing to show any sign of fear or weakness. "You're the one who's making a mistake here," I replied evenly, my voice calm but firm. You have no idea who you're dealing with." The man's eyes narrowed, a hint of uncertainty flickering behind his bravado. "Oh yeah, and who exactly are you supposed to be?" he demanded, his tone laced with skepticism. With a steady hand, I reached into the inner pocket of my jacket and withdrew a small, nondescript card. Holding it up for all to see, I watched as the color drained from the men's faces, replaced by a mixture of shock and disbelief. "My name is George Grant," I announced, my voice echoing through the suddenly silent bar. "And I suggest you show some respect, unless you want to find yourselves in a world of trouble." The man's bravado faltered, his earlier swagger replaced by a palpable sense of unease. "George Grant," he repeated, his voice barely above a whisper. "As in, the George Grant?" I nodded solemnly, confirming his suspicions with a single word. "That's right," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil raging inside me. "The one and only." For a moment, the bar was plunged into stunned silence as the gravity of my revelation sank in. The men exchanged nervous glances, their earlier bravado evaporating in the face of this unexpected turn of events. Then, without warning, the ringleader spoke up, his voice trembling slightly. I think we may have made a mistake here," he stammered, his tone tinged with uncertainty. "Maybe we should, apologize and leave before things get out of hand." I nodded in agreement, relieved that they had seen reason at last. "That would be wise," I replied, my tone firm but not unkind. "Consider this your lucky day, but remember, cross me again, and you won't be so fortunate." As the tension in the bar began to dissipate following my revelation of being George Grant, a legendary figure in the underworld, a sense of relief washed over me. The men who had previously been causing chaos now seemed to shrink under the weight of their own realization. Doris, the bar owner, approached our table with a mix of concern and apprehension etched on her face. "George, please," she implored, her voice a desperate plea for reason amidst the chaos. "Let's not escalate this any further. We just want peace in our establishment." I nodded in agreement, acknowledging her words with a solemn expression. "You're right, Doris," I replied, my voice calm or resolute. "There's been enough trouble for one night. Let's try to resolve this peacefully." The ringleader of the group, still visibly shaken by my revelation, stepped forward tentatively. "Look, we didn't mean any harm," he muttered, his voice tinged with embarrassment. "We were just having a bit of fun, you know." I regarded him with a steady gaze, my eyes conveying a silent warning. "Fun at whose expense?" I countered, my tone pointed. "You may think it's all a joke, but your actions have consequences, both for yourselves and for others." The man shifted uncomfortably under my scrutiny, his bravado fading in the face of my unwavering resolve. "We understand," he replied, his voice subdued. "We'll leave peacefully, I promise." Doris breathed a sigh of relief, her shoulders sagging with the weight of the tension that had been hanging over us. "Thank you, George," she said, her voice tinged with gratitude. "I don't know what we would have done without you." I offered her a reassuring smile, grateful for her unwavering support in the face of adversity. "It's all in a day's work," I replied, my voice tinged with a hint of amusement. "But let's hope we can avoid any more trouble in the future." With that, the men made their way to the door, their heads hung low in shame. As they disappeared into the night, a sense of calm settled over the bar once more, the echoes of their presence fading into the darkness. Doris approached me with a grateful smile, her eyes shining with admiration. "You truly are a remarkable man, George," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "Thank you for showing us that there's always a better way." I nodded in agreement, my heart swelling with a sense of pride. "It's never too late to choose peace over violence," I replied, my voice filled with conviction. "And as long as I'm around, I'll do everything in my power to make sure that choice is always available." With the chaos of the confrontation behind us, I found myself sinking into a booth in the corner of the bar, a heavy weight settling on my shoulders. The dim lighting cast shadows across the room, mirroring the darkness that lingered within me as memories of my past deeds flooded my mind. Doris approached me, her expression filled with concern as she took a seat across from me. "George, are you all right?" she asked softly, her voice gentle yet probing. "You seem lost in thought." I offered her a weary smile, grateful for her concern but unsure of how to express the turmoil that raged within me. "I'm fine, Doris," I replied, my voice tinged with sadness. "Just reflecting on the past." She nodded understandingly, her eyes filled with empathy. "It can't be easy," she said quietly, her words a testament to the depth of her understanding. "But remember, you're not defined by your past. You have the power to shape your future." Her words struck a chord within me, stirring something deep within my soul. "You're right, Doris," I replied, a newfound sense of determination coursing through my veins. "It's time for me to make a change, to leave behind the darkness that once consumed me and embrace the light of a new dawn." As I spoke, memories of my past deeds flashed before my eyes, each one a painful reminder of the violence and bloodshed that had once defined my existence. But amidst the darkness, there were moments of clarity, moments when I had stood up for what was right, even in the face of overwhelming odds. "I've made a decision, Doris," I replied, my voice tinged with determination. "I'm going to stop resorting to violence to deal with the mafia scum who prey on innocent civilians. Instead, I'll seek out non-violent methods, ones that uphold peace and justice without sacrificing my integrity." Doris regarded me with a mixture of surprise and admiration, her eyes shining with pride. "That's a courageous decision, George," she said, her voice filled with warmth. "I have no doubt that you'll succeed in your endeavors." With Doris's words of encouragement echoing in my ears, I felt a renewed sense of purpose coursing through my veins. No longer would I allow myself to be consumed by the darkness of my past. From now on, I would be a force for good, a beacon of hope in a world plagued by violence and corruption. But as I pondered the path ahead, doubts crept into my mind. Would I be able to uphold my newfound resolve in the face of temptation and adversity? Or would I falter, succumbing once again to the lure of vengeance and retribution? "Doris, do you think I'm making the right decision?" I asked, my voice tinged with uncertainty. "Can I truly change my ways and make a difference in the world?" Doris placed a comforting hand on my shoulder, her eyes filled with unwavering belief. "I have no doubt that you can, George," she replied, her voice filled with conviction. "You've already taken the first step towards redemption, and with each passing day, you'll come closer to achieving your goal." Her words filled me with a sense of hope, a glimmer of light in the darkness that had once consumed me. With Doris by my side, I knew that anything was possible, and together we would strive to make the world a better place, one act of kindness at a time. In the days that followed my decision to embrace nonviolence and seek redemption, I found myself consumed by a sense of purpose unlike any I have felt before. Each moment was an opportunity to make a positive impact, to right the wrongs of my past and forge a new path forward. Doris stood by my side, offering unwavering support and encouragement as I navigated the challenges of my newfound resolve. Her belief in me never wavered, serving as a constant reminder of the person I aspired to become. Together, we worked tirelessly to make a difference in the lives of those around us, whether it was lending a helping hand to those in need or standing up against injustice wherever it reared its ugly head. But as much as I strove to leave behind the darkness of my past, there were moments when doubt crept into my mind, moments when I questioned whether I was truly capable of redemption. "Doris, do you ever wonder if I'm doing the right thing?" I asked one evening, my voice tinged with uncertainty as we sat together in the quiet corner of the bar. Doris regarded me with a gentle smile, her eyes filled with compassion. "George, redemption isn't about doing the right thing all the time," she replied, her voice soft but firm. "It's about acknowledging your mistakes, learning from them, and striving to be a better person each day." Her words resonated with me, filling me with a sense of clarity and purpose. She was right. My journey towards redemption was not a straight path, but rather a series of twists and turns, each one leading me closer to the person I wanted to become. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, I found myself growing stronger with each passing day. No longer was I haunted by the ghosts of my past, but rather driven by the hope of a brighter future, a future filled with compassion, forgiveness, and above all, redemption. And as I looked towards the horizon, I knew that my journey was far from over. There would be challenges ahead, obstacles to overcome, and moments of doubt to confront. But with Doris by my side, I was ready to face whatever the future held, confident in my ability to embrace redemption and make a difference in the world.